Hello everyone, my name is Elaine, and today I'm going to be telling you all about my experience playing as a ninja for a month straight on Unison League. Now, this is not a video I ever thought I'd make because my initial thoughts on the ninja class were that they're kinda excrement, and I hadn't played them since their initial release. Nor did I feel any need or desire to play them again because of my initial impression. I also enjoy playing as a mage, currently my main class, and enjoy dealing a lot of damage to my opponents, but here we are. And let me tell you, my good kings and queens and in-betweens, that my opinion hasn't really changed in the past month I have been playing this less than delightful class. I feel weak and cannot wait to return to my main and my ultimate damage-dealing glorious gear set of epic proportions. Oh, okay. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration since I'm not a whale or anything. Just elderly? But whatever. As I was saying, this class is not my mage class, and my weakness was definitely compounded by my lack of versatility in the weapon department. Ninjas receive a small physical and magical attack boost of 20% to lances, scythes, and staff they've equipped, and a whopping 50% total to the physical and magical attack of dual blades which they have equipped, of which I have only those I gained from events, which are often uninfused pieces of shite. Similar to the dung, also oft uninfused weapons I have for any class that is not a mage. Ninjas have a mixture of magical and physical based attacks, so anything that was not magically based was not something I had the capacity to make the most out of, and it made me feel less than awesome. Unlike the basic classes and most of the extra classes, ninjas possess the ability to switch between ability sets during combat, one for taijutsu and one for ninjutsu. Each set has its own host of abilities which are meant to make the class more versatile. The math is simple. More abilities equals more things you can do, which equals more things you can combat or counter. Unfortunately, this took some getting used to. At first, I found it difficult to recall what abilities were on which set, which abilities did what, and which were the ones I could make the most out of, and which were the ones I couldn't. In other words, which damage dealing abilities especially were those that were total shite as opposed to kinda shite. Another frustration was the 5 costs consumed when using the seal to swap between battle modes and delay that came with using the seal as the animation plays out. This was especially true when there was something on my other loadout that I really needed to use, stat, especially if I couldn't afford the cost. But I suppose this was better than realizing I hadn't packed properly for my latest adventure and not having the ability available to me at all. Luckily, most of the ninjas' abilities lack an obscene cost and cooldown, with most of their abilities hovering around the 12 to 15 cost range and most cooldowns of 3 to 7 seconds. The outliers were things like the Spiritism abilities, which had cooldowns of 40 seconds and costs of 25. Luckily, these abilities were far more useful in PvP settings and PvE settings, and were not things I was using regularly, since I take part in quests more often than PvP events such as Guild Battle. Therefore, I didn't often struggle with costs as a ninja, especially since I always pack EE and cost recovery monsters, unless I was spamming abilities for some reason, as may be the case if I was taking part in an extremely hard quest. And once I figured out all my abilities and actually remembered what on earth they did more often than not, I wasn't really wasting cost or timing switches between the seals as poorly and facing the issues I had been facing with that when I first started playing the class. With that being said, several ninja abilities have added effects and optimizing those effects during gameplay, remembering them and the ability's primary effect was something that took a lot more time and effort and was not something I'm sure I completely mastered. I still get them confused sometimes during the heat of battle. Learning these secondary effects and how and when to use them was arguably the hardest thing about adapting to this class. Coupling this with swaps between ability sets and the seal cost and cooldown was the worst. It's an art I have yet to master for sure and where I feel like I screwed up the most. There's just too much to remember unless you intimately know the quest and the things the monsters are going to throw at you and can read your enemy's minds. It's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to do fluidly, with grace, and generally well. Now, let's talk about the ninja ability animations. There's a bit of a range when it comes to how long the animations take to play out, but this is typical. It's the case with all of Unison League's classes. With that being said, when it comes to the ninjas specifically, there's nothing too outlandish, but the standouts for me were the seal transformation, which may be because I was impatient to switch between ability sets more than anything else. Shuriken Tangle, it feels like that Shuriken takes a century and a half to fall. Kadon and Suiton. After all of this time spent playing the ninja class exclusively, I've been led to believe that there are two main problems which plague them. The first is the lack of primordial weapons available to them. In other words, lack of dual blades, which ninjas receive the largest boost for. I believe this is simply a function of the class being one of the latest to be released alongside a new weapon type. So time should help to amend this issue as more ninja gear makes its way into spawns, events, item exchanges, etc. The second would be that there are not enough abilities to choose from to really optimize your sets and gameplay, even if you dip into other class rings. This is a direct result of a lack of rings. I'm not sure if the ring is dual nature should add to total count, but in any case, the lack leads to there not being much to choose from. Time may lead to the addition of new rings and abilities which could help to fix this issue. Now that this video is nearing its end, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take a few moments to review my experience playing this less than delightful ninja class. I suppose it was nice to try out a new class, although the severe decline in my power was rather depressing. Not being able to one-shot monsters I could KO easily with the spell before made quests longer and more tedious, and PvP events haunt me with visions of my time as a noob, when 27 cost gear was the jam. Shudder, shudder. Ladies and gentlemen, for I have admitted my old age. In an effort to make my mother proud and remain remotely positive, I will say that it was nice to see some new animations and play around with the class I had ignored for over a year. With that being said, this class is definitely just a lousier version of my main and most people's mains. The animations make the class seem a little gimmicky, but also kind of nostalgic. They remind me of the many hours I spent watching Naruto. I think with some planning and the release of new rings, this class could grow into something great. It has the potential like most things, but it's simply not been realized yet. As of right now, this class is just plain shite. And on that note, that was another of my Unison League videos. I'm Elaine. If you like this lovely little video, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens and in-betweens, please comment down below. Give me a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and fare thee well. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye, guys.